to episode 39, right? We just did
Right,
38.
right. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. You said
39.
30.
I'm totally new it the
And I'm
entire
Yeah.
fucking time.
and I'm still here. I'm still here in my Reebok hoodie that you can now buy at Walmart because they sell Reebok products now.
We are not sponsored by Walmart. Just
I
throwing that out
think
there.
Nike owns Reebok.
You remember? Well, I first
I
when I
don't
seen
think
them,
so.
I said, "Why is Reebok at Walmart?" Because when I was a kid, this was big brand, you know.
No.
But
Adidas owns Reebok
That makes more sense. That makes more sense.
but
because
the thing
Adidas is
is like
German.
now, where else would they sell them now? Because like J.C. Penney's and all them go out of business, so you might as well lower the cost and sell it at Walmart a little bit, right?
Some of the stuff that has the label on it is in their mind lower quality than others, and so they'll put them out in
Fu-
Walmart and stuff.
They sell FUBU at Walmart now.
Yeah, because exactly.
That's still a thing.
Yeah, it is at
To
Walmart.
a
Well,
degree.
what is keeping Reebok afloat is
Shoes,
CrossFit.
shoes, and
Oh,
CrossFit. Yeah.
Reebok is the official sponsor of CrossFit since year one. Um, and the creator of CrossFit fucking hates Adidas for its mismanagement of Reebok.
I feel like there's only a matter of time before we see Nike in regular retail stores.
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't because they make Nikes that are like piss poor,
They make
Yeah.
Nike outlets. They have a Nike outlet store. I mean,
and you can get like
Of course,
$20 shoes. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, you get 20. See, that's the thing, like about the FUBU that shocked me when there was $20 FUBU shoes. Where those things used to be 60, $70 and up. I mean, because that was a big brand in the '90s, obviously. Of course, we're a long way from the '90s, and obviously this has nothing to do with this podcast or this show.
Yeah, say welcome to the
Welcome to the
athletic wear
clothing
podcast.
clothing hour.
Athletic wear podcast. Yeah.
Just because I randomly got me a Walmart hoodie, I want to talk about it. But no, today we're doing. Tell them what the name of it is. I forgot.
Jesus Christ.
god damn it.
God's sakes. The movie is called Ratu Ilmu
Oh, no.
Hitam.
Don't
Yes,
give
it
them that.
is. Yeah, I will. Oh, I'm going to. It's called
Okay.
Ratu Ilmu Hitam, but on Shudder it is known as the Queen of Black Magic.
A remake.
It is a remake of a 1979 to 1981. This DVD says 1979. Shudder, who just put it up alongside the remake, says 1981. So your mileage may vary. That being said,
A remake and name and magic only, right?
literally, there is the amount of stuff that there is to do, and I will say it right now. And I'm going to briefly cover the remake and the original in a second, but the only things the remake has to do with it is it's made by the same company, Ravi Films, I believe, RF. There's a character in both of them named Murney, and at the end of the remake, the credits play at first over, for some fucking reason that makes no sense, screenshots of the original movie. That's the only thing it has to do with it.
Well,
And magic.
I learned from this movie that in Indonesia they spell Jeff Jef.
Could be. Could be just a
Yeah.
different version of the name too. I know what you're saying. I mean, but yeah, real quick, I'm the only one who watched the original because, like I said, I own it. Mondo Macabro liked to do a lot of the Indonesian stuff for a while, so they did this one. They also did Mystics in Bali, which is most famous for a scene in which a witch character makes a woman's head pull off of her body, and then the head floats through the air with all of her organs hanging down towards a woman and eats a fetus out of her. Yeah. And that's literally the most famous thing in the movie. The movie's fine, but yeah. Also, The Devil's Sword was another Indonesian one they put out, because Indonesia has a pretty vibrant film community.
They've got a lot of Indonesian stuff on here.
Oh yeah, that's it. Shudder, for the record, I'd say also credit to Shudder. This, Satan's Slaves, I want to say Impedagore, and there was another one that I saw on the bottom as I was watching it. Is all Indonesian, so they must have some kind of deal to put out that stuff in America. Which, more power to them, because most people don't talk about this. It is easily one of the more forgotten countries in terms of horror output. But it definitely shouldn't be because it has its own flavor, which brings me to this. The original one, it's basically the story of this guy going to get married, and as he's about to get married, they discover all these maggots in the food, and they claim it's black magic. And
Makes
he
sense.
says, it's got to be that woman. She had a thing for me, and she loved me, and but I turned her down, and now she's casting black magic on me. And the townsfolk, of course, get all riled up, and they grab her, and they go to a cliff, and they just chuck her off the cliff. And of course, because Providence, she falls off the cliff, and there's a hermit at the bottom of the cliff who just happens to catch her. Basically, just this random guy in the middle of the woods.
He literally
happens to
catches
catch
her.
Yeah, like a witch doctor. Yeah, literally catches her in his arms.
I mean, I've seen the chick from was it Revenge survive falling off, be kicked off a cliff and getting impaled by a tree. So I'm not gonna,
I know.
you know,
I'm not saying
and-
I'm not saying it's. You have to understand that this is a movie in the early '70s to early '80s to late '70s, and it's being made in Indonesia, which I'll come back to in a second in terms of the being made part. But yeah, so he looks like you'd expect a forest hermit to look, but he's a witch doctor. He's a black magic guy, and takes her back to his hut, nurses her back to health, and says, "Well, what the hell happened?" And she says, "Well, I was in love with this guy." And there's no other way to put it because they show it in a flashback. It's a rape, but it's a rape in the sense that, she says that she doesn't want to do anything with him and says no, he keeps going. And then at the end, she says, I didn't want to lose my virginity to you. And then he ends up leaving her and goes to get, yeah. It's not like Last House on the Left or anything like that, but that's clearly what it is. So he says, well, you need to get revenge. You must learn black magic and use black magic against the town and, destroy everybody who wronged you. And she goes back into town. And so you get a guy whose arms start getting these like bubbling things on them that like start spurting blood. Like physically just shooting blood out. She steals a baby at one point, takes it back, brings it back, but steals a baby, out of a window, floats it out of the window.
Sorry, I took
towards
this
her.
child. Here you go. Take it back.
Yeah, no, literally the movie goes, she goes to the thing, takes the baby out, floats it away. 70s, you can see like a little bit of fishing line every so often, but takes the baby out. Next time you see the baby, she's back in the black magic guy's hut and she's nursing the baby. And the black magic guy goes, "You're gonna have to bring that back." And she goes over, puts it back in the thing. So literally, it's basically that. And then so eventually, she kills like 2 major guys who were heavily involved in it. And then the main groom guy gets really angry. It's like, everybody's gotta go get her. And so she shows up, chases everybody else off with like mystic wind powers, and then like throws an egg at him that breaks on his head, and then he starts bleeding. He gets back to town, and in a fucking amazing shot, again for 1979 to 1981 Indonesia, rips his own goddamn head off and falls to the ground. Okay, and dies. At this point, she's basically all, well, I'm feeling fine now. Everything's okay. Meanwhile, the town is freaking out because, like, the town elder is like, it's not black magic. You can't prove. We have to go to the cops, but you can't prove black magic. This priest comes and he says, well, guys, you guys stopped praying. You have to pray. That's how you beat black magic. Help me rebuild this, place where you pray, and we'll all pray. And so the movie becomes this fight between the black magic guy and the priest, who also kind of gets into a relationship with her, and she doesn't want to kill anybody anymore. She wants to go get married, but maybe something's going to stop her from doing that. It's low budget. It's very much of its time. It's very much, you watch it and you're like, this is super religious. Like, you can see the tone in it of the people who are praying are the good guys, and if you're doing black magic, you're evil. So if you take it as writ that the movie is its own thing in its own time, it's Indonesia, it's a different culture, it's still interesting, it's still good. It's got its issues. The acting isn't perfect in some scenes. The dialogue ain't great sometimes, but the effects in it again, the DVD has a 10-minute featurette. It's called Indonesian Light and Magic. They literally went to the guy El Badroon. He is a Indonesian special effects wizard, and they toured his special effects. There's no other way of putting it. Bamboo hut, where he makes like clay monsters and giant latex masks and shit, and he did the special effects on this, and they are fucking phenomenal. Like, there are slasher movies from the 80s that don't have special effects like this movie sometimes does. You know, is it perfect? No, it hasn't aged great because its politic is weird, basically. But it's free right now on Shudder to watch. It's worthwhile. I'd give it 2.5 to 3. It's not bad. That's this. Any questions?
No, it seems interesting though.
It seems fucking confusing and convoluted as fuck.
Yeah, and
well,
I can tell you another piece of it later, but it's weird.
well, fair warning. I'm probably going to steal the floating head thing in my next movie.
Like I said, he so much you're talking about in this one. Yeah, he literally it's just a shot, and it's from the ground. And he just rips his head off, drops his head, and it just boom to the ground. And you and I and W know how he does it because we know horror movies. Even then, it looks really good. Like,
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more along the lines of stealing the you said the woman's floating head that eats the fetus.
oh yeah, you're gonna want to look for Mystics in Bali. Then that one's from that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that seems like something I could try to recreate
You can
in a very
probably
low
find
budget
a
way.
video of it on YouTube somewhere. Yeah, because I think it used to still be in print from Mondo Macabro, but I don't know if it still is. I will say for the record that this particular movie is really hard to find on eBay right now. On Amazon, you can buy a copy for the low price of $75.
Jesus.
So, because Mondo Macabro apparently is the new, hey, let's buy up all their shit label.
All that old Mondo stuff is pretty expensive right now.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they're ever going to do a Blu-ray of this. If they do, it'd be interesting, depending on what else they gave it as special features go. But it's pretty good. It's, like I said, I wouldn't rank it up with like a lot of the current stuff, but I mean, considering we're talking an Indonesian movie from 1979 to 1981, they do a lot of stuff right. It's better than a lot of indie stuff. It's better than a lot of shot on video stuff. No offense.
None taken.
It's definitely worth at least the hour and a half it would take you to watch it on Shudder. Which brings us to the remake, which has literally, as I said, nothing to do with it. You said you were confused about the remake in terms of how it went and you missed dialogue.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't confused. I legitimately, I missed a lot of dialogue because I was prepping my computer for something to do today. But
it's pretty talky. This movie
it is.
Particularly in the beginning, yes. The first 40 minutes or so, yes.
So what would you describe the what's the simple form of the plot for this remake?
So there's an orphanage where the main character lived, and he's been called back there because the guy who runs it is sick. And so he brings his wife and their 3 kids, and they go to visit this orphanage in the middle of nowhere in Indonesia. That's why their cell phones don't work.
It's just a trope. The phones never work.
I know. Along with them in separate cars also comes another couple of guys who also were in that orphanage and their wives. One of those wives is kind of like rich, kind of high class person. The other one has a body disorder. Thinks she's very fat, is not very fat, but thinks she is. And the kids just kind of, they go back and forth. When they get there, they find out there's 2 kids, I think, who are still there. 2 people who used to be there who kind of still run it. And the old man is like sick and basically almost comatose, in essence, in bed. Mm-hmm. And so there's a bit for a while where you find out that like there was a woman who went crazy in the orphanage, and the first thing you hear is she went out with this other girl. Her name was Mata, I believe.
Something like
Yeah, I can't
like
help you
that.
with that.
I think it was Mata, and she went out with, I remember, Murney.
Murney.
And Mata came back and said Murney got possessed by a demon, and they never found Murney. Mata went crazy, so they locked her in a room, and she started banging against the room door with her head, but no one let her out until she died. And that's what you're told, basically, is like the dark secret of this orphanage. Technically speaking, It's not a spoiler. That's all I'm going to say about that. As the movie goes on, one of the things that happens on their way there is the main character hits a deer with his truck. And he looks at the hair that's left behind and gets confused, goes back and discovers that he didn't just hit a deer, and makes a few other discoveries about what else is going on. And as that's happening, suddenly everything goes to utter fucking shit. Basically, that's the gist of it. Everything goes to hell. No one is safe. Everybody dies or should die is the concept they're going for. Do they? You'd have to watch to find out. But yeah.
tons of gore. Some of the CGI nature that's a little questionable. But if you're watching the movie, when you reach the portion of the movie where they discover a bus full of people, that is about the go point of when things start to pick up.
That's approximately There's you could make an argument that the first 30 to 40 minutes are extremely slow, a little over long. They are trying to build stuff up. It's not that there's nothing there, because they're kind of like laying some seeds. But when you hit the bus, shit starts to go down, basically.
Yeah.
I really, really, really hated the overuse of the CGI bugs.
The reason I kept bringing up the special effects in the original is the fact that the CGI bugs in this are so bad.
The bugs is like the main weapon of choice in this.
Yeah, but
I mean,
at one time we see like thousands of little bugs, and that looked. Oh, it didn't look okay, but it is what it is. But the rest of them, they're larger, like centipedes and things, and it looks bad.
It's sci-fi channel level of bad in those scenes. And the one that takes the cake is one scene where an eyeball pops out. I know they're going for the Friday the 13th thing, I believe, but I'll take the mechanical mechanism they used in Friday the 13th over the CGI eyeball that flies out.
Yeah, the movie has some good effects in it still. You mentioned the bus. The bus has some really good effects outside of the bugs. Let's go with the knife cutting is really good.
Ooh, is it though?
I mean, how do you mean?
So, slight spoiler. I mean, like, she cuts a piece of her skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it just pulls away, but there's the first time she does it, there's absolutely zero blood on her.
Oh, you know why? That there's a reason for that. It's because you're not in the real world there. The whole purpose of what's happening in that scene is she's been, again, we're minor spoilers here. She's looking in the mirror, and I kind of caught this coming before it started to happen. She looked bigger in the mirror when she was looking at it than she was physically in the shot. And so as she did it, she was kind of, I guess you'd say, possessed or in the zone of the mirror. So she was just seeing the mirror, and so were you. And it's the moment when the guy comes up and goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" She snaps back out of it, and you see everything she's done.
But the second cut she makes, there's blood. The third cut she makes, there's blood. But when her husband comes in, it's so much worse.
Yes.
But that first one, there's absolutely zero blood.
She looked like she was slicing. Yeah. Yeah. So deep it didn't bleed, right? That's an old used lyric line. But
basically, yeah.
But the thing is, it looked like she was cutting like a piece of Spam there.
A little bit, yeah. I'm not going to say it was a perfect shot, but I am saying I think that was why it didn't bleed. I thought the same thing.
Definitely some Play-Doh.
I think she was very much like just in the zone of the shot, basically, is the idea.
Yeah.
But there's that. I will say personally, I thought the eye was. I didn't think it was great. It existed. I thought I would have liked it. I thought I would have liked it more if that had looked a little better.
Mm-hmm.
If you get my meaning. That one was a little bit. I was like, You could do that without CGI. That is honestly this movie's biggest flaw, is the fact that I don't know if it was time, I don't know if it was money, I don't know if anything like that. There are moments where people spit up blood and they look good. There are moments after she cuts and you see the after effect of it looks good. The people who've been injured look like in the bust, they look good. But there's so many other moments that aren't quite there because the CGI is a little off, basically.
Like,
Yeah.
the majority of the special effects I thought looked really bad. Like, even like you said you liked it, but I did not like her cutting herself, even like the aftermath of it when it was the, real life. I still didn't think it looked anything close to being realistic. Um, in all honesty, I think the absolute best piece of special effects in this was when the Queen of Black Magic levitates from the field to the top of a car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the best looking scene of the entire film in general, from based on just how it was shot, and you don't actually see, you know.
Yeah, and I'll be completely honest. The reason that's the case is because back in the 70 to 80 time frame, they would try to show the physical person and not just their feet. And so it looks a little bit hokey in that one.
But I was
still,
a big fan of the VHS.
Yes,
That was a good scene.
there are a lot of I can see a lot of problems with the effects, but I'm avoiding spoilers here. The way the plot develops, in terms of as the movie gets into high gear in the latter half, is really interesting. In terms of just like how far down the road they're going, how far they're basically taking the thing and just flipping it over in essence and saying, no, this is what's going on. It goes a little far sometimes, but I will say, in terms of that aspect, but there's a lot of things in this movie you would not see in another movie, and I'm not talking about in terms of effects. I'm talking about just in terms of characters who are put in danger that that are never put in danger in other movies.
Yeah, I was going
Well, it
to
depends
mention
which movie you see.
because this does take place at a orphanage, so there are children, and if you are going to make it a point that children are going to get hurt, and as a parent, that's not something that I care to watch. Normally, it is off screen or very vague, but this one it shows it, and I give them credit for that because it's not something you see often.
Right. And I was explaining this to my wife earlier. I'm not going to get into details, but the way they handle an element of their twist is, I would say, somewhat different than it gets handled in other kinds of movies. I would say that it's something they would never have done in the original because that was something you didn't talk about back then. But at the same time, I feel like they had to go in the direction they did because it's 2020 versus 1979 and 1981. And I felt like while it wasn't a perfect handling of it, it at least helped it that they handled it how they did, in essence. Like, I think my favorite moment, and this is not a spoiler to say this, my favorite quote was at one point, one of the characters tells the Queen of Black Magic, "We didn't know." And the Queen of Black Magic goes, "That is also a sin." And the very concept that they're getting at there is something you never see in any movie like this, basically, that's going with that kind of a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the movie. I even the bad CGI, it's okay because I'm used to it out of the stuff I've watched. But if you could maybe trim 10 minutes off this movie, I think you would probably be right where you need to be with it. I mean, it does what it does, remake in name only from what you described. But the thing is it does offer something different that you don't see every day, and it is interesting for what it is. And I enjoyed it for what it was, which I like. I like these Indonesian movies. I don't know why. There's something about them that appeals to me. And most of the ones I've seen, I have enjoyed. And this is no different. So I'd say if anybody's on the fence about watching it, I'd say go give it a watch. Just bear with it for a few minutes, but it definitely is good.
Yeah, I will say that I think it takes too long, partially because one thing I don't think it really needed to do is it tries to have like a class element to it
Mhm.
in some way. I don't think it really needed that, and I think you could trim a lot just from that aspect of it. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I liked the effects more. I have a lot of problems with the effects still, but otherwise, I thought it was a very well done movie. I felt kind of similar about it that I do about Hell's Ground,
Yeah.
the Pakistani slasher movie with Burqa Face and her giant ball and chain.
I
I
love
forgot
it.
about that movie.
I love
I
that
did too.
movie.
I'm glad you just said that.
I love
I've
that.
got it.
Mondo
I've
Macabro had
not
a
watched
hand in
it.
the production of that too.
I haven't seen that movie in probably 10 years.
No
I
one
haven't
talks
seen it
about it.
since we reviewed it.
No one
Mm.
fucking talks about it. But when I reviewed it for the site back in the day, one of the things I pointed out is it's a Pakistani movie that's a slasher movie, quite clearly. But you can tell because it's Pakistani, it's doing something different from someone else doing the exact same movie. It's playing with ideas. It feels unique and different in part because it's from there. And that's kind of what I got out of this too is someone could have made a similar movie in America or England, even Italy. It would not have felt the way this did because there were some things they did that were very much of themselves.
Sure.
And I think it's worthwhile for that.
Did you notice that there are two different scenes in this film early on where the main character's wife speaks in fluent English?
Yes, I did. And I could not explain that to you if I tried.
Okay.
Random.
My
Because
only guess
in
on that
Hell's
would be it's an
Ground,
expression. Yeah. Might have been
in
an
Hell's
expression that's only in
Ground, like
English.
the kids speak in English and whatever language. And
Urdu.
I don't. Yeah. But it didn't make sense in this one because it wasn't like just some catchphrase or slang or anything like that. It was like a normal sentence to answer a question.
I think one of them was "What the hell is going on," which maybe liked how it sounded better. I don't know. And
But
I
the
don't
other
remember what the
one
other one
was about the kids. It's when they got into the were getting into
Yeah,
the car.
at the very beginning. Yeah.
It kind of threw me
I don't know.
through a
I
loop, and I'm
couldn't
like,
explain it to
okay,
you
it's going to
until
be in
the end.
English, cool.
Nope.
Because I'll
Like,
admit
we
I
don't
was a
have
little
to
tired
read.
last night.
Yeah.
I wish they'd offer a dub version sometimes.
I mean, that's up to you. I am able to do a subbed. I will say it makes it take longer for me to watch stuff when I'm in the middle of something else, but
Well,
I'd rather.
when your boy here don't start the movie to 3 a.m., it helps if it wasn't subtitled.
Well, this one's not. At least I don't think.
Ah,
I'm pretty sure if it's the same thing that Mondo Macabro put out on DVD, that it is English dubbed.
oh, that's cool.
So.
So, at the end of the day, I'm giving it a 3.5.
I am giving it exactly the same thing, 3.5.
I'm going to give it a 3. I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't hate it. I hated the special effects. And again, we could have cut 10, 15 minutes off of this and been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I like what they did, and the other than the CGI, I kind of didn't like the ending. Like I wanted more out of that ending.
I will say they go a different place with the ending than a lot of movies would. I wish they would have done more as well in the same kind of way. But in terms of what they did do, I reached a point where I was kind of like, at least they did that.
Because like you get to the point and it's like, okay, it's over. And then she's like, fuck you, it's not over. And then I just thought the whole place was going to fucking erupt and something badass was going to happen, and it didn't happen.
I mean, that part, yeah, the ending could have been a little better than
It
that.
it built you up to let you down. So
I was more
Kinda.
talking about the climactic battles ending, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
disagree that the way that scene, because I will also say on that particular scene, doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense either in some ways, considering one of the people who's with them and what they did in the movie doesn't make any sense at all. But is what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Definitely worth checking out. And since literally no one's talking about it right now, from what I've seen on Letterboxd and otherwise, check it out. Shudder also announced or put out some, I don't know what the fuck. It's Mary Shelley and Percy Shelley's relationship and how it affects Frankenstein.
Huh?
I don't know why.
What is this now?
There's some weird ass new thing Shudder just put out. It's called I gotta load my Shudder up. It's called not Psycho Goreman, because I would really prefer they would just put out fucking Psycho Goreman, because they're going to. Their name's on the goddamn thing. It's Shudder's app taking forever to load. It's A Nightmare Wakes. Inspired by the torrid love affair of Mary and Percy Shelley as Mary writes her famous novel Frankenstein. As Mary writes, the characters of her novel come to life and begin to plague her relationship with Percy, and soon she must choose between true love and her literary masterpiece. What the fuck is this doing on Shudder?
Somebody's like, well, we've made all these adaptations of Frankenstein. Let's make a movie about the making of the book of Frankenstein.
Just so you know, it says Indonesian on their copy of Queen of Black Magic, the original, but I think they might just be saying it's from Indonesia. I don't necessarily think it's English dubbed.
Yeah.
For the record, the remake is a 4.5 on Shudder. The original is a 4. I like the original, and that is fucking bullshit. But anyway.
Yeah,
that cannot be.
Shudder's got a good variety of things you can check out.
It does. And that's like I said, I give them all of the credit in the world, because when I first suggested that this was here last week as we recorded this, the only one that was up there was the remake. And I said, if you want to do the original, it's on YouTube, another place if you want to find it. Because I know you guys don't have the DVD. If you want to cover the original too, that's great. Otherwise, we'll just do the remake. And then 4 days later, I go on Shudder and, oh, look, there's the original. And I'm like, holy fuck, really? Okay, fine. Why not?
I mean,
yeah. Well,
if I'd had time, I would have watched it.
It'll be there for a while, I think.
Well, there's always way, I'm sure.
It'll be there for a while. They probably got the rights to it at the same time they got the rights to this from Raji Films.
Mm-hmm.
Or Ravi Films, I think it is. Something like that.
See, that ought to be like, if they want to be cool like back in the old days, they'd put out a Blu-ray with both versions on it. But they won't.
Honestly, it is out of print right now from Mondo Macabro.
Mm-hmm.
They might. Just say, you're saying that. They actually might do that.
Oh, Mondo. I think the only thing I don't like about Mondo is I hate the music plays on all their releases.
Oh, come on. It's the best trailer compilation in the entire industry on every single DVD.
Yeah.
It's the only
a
one.
lot of Mondo. I like a lot of, some of the more recent Mondo titles I haven't been too crazy about, though. But
they're going in interesting.
I miss their Indonesian movies. I wish they did more of those now,
I agree.
I mean, Severin's the one that put out the quote unquote remake of Phantasm, right? Was it from Indonesia?
Satan's Slave, you mean? Instead of Satan's Slaves.
Yeah, which Satan's Slaves is out too, which I didn't know what that was, but I haven't watched it yet.
Satan's Slaves is on Shudder. Satan's Slave is on Severin.
Did you get to watch Satan's Slave yet, Beard?
No.
Well, I didn't get no Phantasm vibe out of that when I watched it.
So, and then the other one was released by Vinegar Syndrome.
Which one? What are we talking about?
You're thinking of a different movie called Satan's Slave.
No.
Yeah. We're talking about the old Indian or Indonesian one. I don't know.
Yeah, the one you're thinking of was originally released by Scorpion and then got released by Vinegar Syndrome.
Is the one we're talking about, is it like a Bollywood one? Or
I mean, I don't know. I know that Satan's Slave that Severin put out was the one you said you saw and liked. Satan's Slaves, the Shudder original, is the one RLJE just put out on Blu-ray.
Which is supposed to be the remake.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, which I've not watched it yet, but I did enjoy the original. But I was reading IMDb or something like that, or maybe Beard used to want to tell me. Someone's like, "Well, that's supposed to be their version of Phantasm."
No, I didn't tell you that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a version of Phantasm, but it
you told
definitely
me
don't
that.
feel like Phantasm. Yeah, it's on IMDb or something like that, but I don't get it. So you need to watch that and let me know what you think about it.
Just so you know, Chuck, if you want to watch Mystics in Bali, there's a high-quality version of the whole movie on YouTube. But you can also find a video called Mystics in Bali 1981, Attack of the Disembodied Head, Lungs, and Intestines, and that'll get you your 3-minute shot of that sequence.
There it is. Well, something worth checking out.
It don't look great. It looks like it's made the way it is, but considering the fact that it's done practically mostly, it's not bad, basically.
Yeah. So that was our trip to Indonesia.
Take more of a chance with your movies.
Yeah. So what can they expect coming from us in upcoming weeks? Do we know?
No.
We don't know yet.
We don't have no more news. We didn't use all of our news on the last episode. So I figured
I don't want to remember all that shit 2 episodes in a row. Are you kidding me?
We're probably open to suggestions if anybody wants to comment below on something they might want us to watch.
If you want to try and no, not even going to say it, because if I say it, that's a terrible idea.
We ought to open up the email account and say email us questions and whatnot. We can read them on the air.
I was going to suggest to redo Last Rites.
Exorcast@gmail.com.
There it is. Send all your hate mail there if you don't like anything we're talking about.
We could either redo Last Rites again, or we could go back, like you just said, to getting emails from listeners and thus get an email from Dance Commander every week.
Yeah. Hey, at least we got an email.
Back in the old days.
That's where the Dance Commander name came from. He just started signing emails like that.
Well, there you go.
Didn't he sign emails like 15 different ways? Every time he signed it a different way, plus that?
Yeah.
Glory days there, folks. But so now we're in video, so you can watch us live as we live to tape, so to speak, as we go over these movies. So it would spice it up if we have a mailbag each week. If anybody actually wants to email us, let us know you're paying attention.
Yeah.
It's
We can do
always
that.
nice to have that interaction in the world.
Email us.
But
say mean things to Chuck.
Yeah, you can. Why not? Even though they probably agree with a lot of stuff I say on here, probably.
You're opening a can of worms there.
How's it feel to be 38?
Well, I'll tell you in about 3 days. I don't know.
As we record this.
Yeah, I'll be 38 when this is up, though. So this is time travel. I was 37. I'll be 37 in the future when I'll technically be 38 in real life. So there you go.
Magic.
There you go, Marvel Comics. There's your multiverse right there.
All right. Well, we don't know what's coming next, but we'll have something. And thanks for watching. Share, subscribe, like it. Hit the little button and like it, because people watch, but they don't like. So like it.
You need to like and subscribe for sure, yes.
Yeah, and subscribe. Thanks. We'll see ya.
Alrighty.